Arizona State and visiting Utah. Pac-12 women's volleyball presented by Tachi Kara. There's Beth Lanier, now in her 28th year as the head coach of the Utah Utes. As we take a look at her starting lineup, we already talked about Adora Anai, but I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing some other folks today as well. Blaine?
Absolutely. Number 12, Berkeley Oblad, middle blocker, has been playing extremely well. And you know what? This team is starting to gel. They're starting to come together. So many great players out there, and they're starting to play as a unit. There's a lot of firsts, one in Tucson, first time ever, one in Seattle, first time ever, and it's impressive.
And speaking of firsts, in her first year as the head coach here down in the desert, it's Sanja Tomasevic. As we take a look at her starting lineup, who, in addition to Aluma Okara, are you looking forward to seeing for the Devils?
Well, remember Greer Hughes, freshman, outside hitter. She is solid. This is a team, as I mentioned at the top of the show, kind of rebuilding. There's a lot of young talent out there, and they're looking for the future. First-year coach, but they are dangerous at times.
So here we go. Nicole Peterson leading us off from the service line. And Adora Anai goes off the antenna. So the Sun Devils start things off right here in Tempe with the first point of today's match. Alongside Dane Blanton, I'm Kate Scott. Thanks so much for spending your Sunday afternoon with us right here on the Pac-12 Network. When we talked to Sonia a couple of days ago, as Berkeley Oblad sends one down the line for Utah's first point. She said that she's been kind of switching off between her setters so far this season, kind of trying to figure out who's better off the bench, who's better starting. And as she said, both have played well, but Nicole earning the start today.
Yeah, it's so important to have that quarterback position. Really a leader and taking charge. And sometimes when you have two setters, you have that luxury of the option. You want to try out new things, and I think it's wide open for the taking. Whoever steps up in that position, they can own it.
Sophomore Ivana Jeremic now back to serve for the Devils. Out of Serbia, like her coach, Sanja Tomasevic. Well, back and forth we go here in the first couple of points. Utah 6-1, as Dane mentioned earlier, in Pac-12 play, 15-3 overall. They are off to an absolutely phenomenal start here in 2017. The 13th ranked team in the country. That's their highest ranking since they ended the 2006 season as the number 15 team in the country. So Beth Lanier definitely has things pointed in the right direction in Salt Lake.
You saw number 27, Greer Hughes, come in, get a kill right away.
That's your girl. 5'11" outside out of Fishers, Indiana, is number 27, Greer Hughes. And this is their senior leader, Hallie Harker. She has been through it all. This is now her third coach in her 4 years of collegiate volleyball. Sanja says she is their defensive leader. It's been the starting libero since her freshman year. There's Greer getting up for Arizona State. And the cut shot from number 27. Well, didn't have the best week of practice last week, but looking good so far here on Sunday.
Yeah, Hughes looks good. You've seen an arsenal early on, a little tip shot to the deep corner, and then that very sharp angle at the end to get the kill.
They'll go quick to the middle, but junior Peyton Grahovic sends it long. So Adora Anai will go back to the service line. We talked about her a lot in the open day, and she had a phenomenal set against UW and Wazoo last week up in the Washingtons as the Utes swept those schools, the AVCA and ESPNW Player of the Week. Pretty good at serving, too.
Great jump float serve. The bottom just drops out of it right there. Utah's so strong. All three of their losses have been in 5-set matches, so they're right there. And I think they're going to be a scary team as the season goes on. And they've cracked that top 10 in RPI, number 13 on the AVCA poll now. And, the sky's the limit.
Speaking of skies, how about freshman Kenzie Kerber there, number 4 with the block.
So important to get that block set and in front. A one-on-one situation like there. Hughes tries to overpower, but a nice stuff block by Kerber.
Freshman out of Chino Hills, California. Played club with T Street Volleyball, and there she is again with the senior Tawny Louis Falimana. Little tag team up there that time for the Utes. Tawny, one of just 3 seniors, along with Adora Anai and Carly Truman, who is now in there up at the net for the Utes as well, number 10. So a relatively young squad that Beth Lanier has in Salt Lake.
And there's Greer Hughes once again on the outside. When you have a solid outside hitter, and she's starting to step up early in this match, it's a great outlet. And when the pass isn't perfect, then you can throw it to the outside. And right now, a lot of confidence for Hughes.
And there's Louis Falimana in the middle. Second right now in the Pac-12 in hitting percentage, averaging .375 a match behind only Stanford's middle, Tammy Alade. So impressive stuff there by number 20, who's been dealing with injury the past number of weeks too. And there's Carly Truman. Well, Utah, maybe their block not talked about as much as maybe the Washingtons or Stanford in this conference, but they are stout up there at the net.
Yeah, they're very good. They move laterally, and they're always in a read situation. You don't want to be guessing. You're either in a commit situation or you're reading that setter's hand. So it's going to be important for Peterson, for ASU, to be very deceptive.
See what Peterson does this time. Sends it out wide to Hughes. Coming back to the freshman, and the second time the charm for Greer Hughes.
Greer's got a heavy arm and made a huge impact across the front row just now to start this thing off. And the Sun Devils, as we said earlier, are very dangerous. This isn't a team, despite looking at their record, winless in the Pac-12, they can still make some things happen, so you don't want to take them lightly.
Great job by the Devils to come save that one out of the stands and get it over. And there's Harker with the up. Yeramich off hands. A big point there for ASU.
I love that challenge right there. Yeramich just going at it. 2 blockers right in her face. There's the nice dig. And keeping that ball in play, what that allows you to do is get a second opportunity. A lot of teams you'll see try to get winners out of poor situations. It's very important that when you realize the percentages aren't in your favor, keep the ball in. Give yourself another opportunity.
Yeah, Hallie Harker and Ivana Yeramich did just that and ended up in their favor. Great bit of work that time by ASU. Yeramich almost had the block on that last Utah shot, but just trickled out of bounds. So the Utes with a 9-7 lead, and there's Berkeley Oblad, the reigning Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week.
Oblad up and over in a one-on-one situation. Okaro hitting a pipe out of the middle, and ASU is going to have to cover that ball.
Haven't seen too much of Okaro yet. That time they put a backslide to the freshman Megan Beatty, who sends it long. But Sani Tomasevic says that she's very excited about the future that Megan Beatty has here in Tempe.
Yeah, and she needs to invest in those young players in a turning, kind of restarting, rebuilding situation. And those are the types of errors you're going to get. Those unforced errors, balls hit directly out of bounds. I mean, that's what happens. I remember when I was a freshman, you make some errors that just sometimes don't make a lot of sense.
But that's the only way you learn, right, Dane?
Exactly.
It is in the midst of, you know, a difficult Pac-12 season. You make the mistakes in matches like this, and then your sophomore, junior years, you're so much better for it. Callie Jones serving for ASU. Carly Truman able to two of the block for the point.
Carly Truman getting up. What I like on both these teams right now is that they're being aggressive. There's not a lot of tipping going on. There's a lot of hitting. And I've seen a lot of matches this year with some great athletes, and they get in the habit of tipping the ball a lot. And I love to see players get up high, be aggressive. I think that's when they have the most success.
Yeah, it's felt like a really clean match so far today, which is great because both teams didn't hit very well. Hit under 200 on Friday night. ASU falling in 3 sets to Colorado, while the Utes took care of Arizona in Tucson. And what a block that time by the Devils, stuffing Adora and I.
Right there in the middle, Carmen Unsue, the junior, really getting her hands in the right position at the right time.
The best blocking in the middle on this ASU squad, according to her coach. And there's freshman lefty Danny Barton for the Utes. One of 7 freshmen for Beth Lanier and company. Said he's playing them quite a bit, but not giving them too many swings, just kind of trying to build their confidence in their freshman year in Pac-12 play. Jermic off of an eye for the points.
Jermic out of Serbia right there, just ripping that ball on the right side. So important to have a solid right-sider as well as a left-sider. If your real power only comes from one side, the block can cheat and really make you pay for it.
Jermic, as they just mentioned, a member of the U17 and U19 Serbia national teams. And there's the freshman, Greer Hughes. Well, ASU staying right in this first set with the 13th ranked team in the country.
That's what you want to do if you're Arizona State. You want to stick with this team as long as possible, right till you get to about that 20-point range where you're in striking distance, and then anything can happen. It's important they don't let this thing get away early, and they've done a great job so far.
See what Utah does with this free ball. Nice up that time by Peterson. Tough to the net. Hughes deals with it. Another great dig by Peterson. But they're going to say that was a double contact.
Wow, I find that fascinating. Anai threw that ball like she was playing water polo. Mm-hmm. It held, it stuck quite a long time, and then to call the double contact right away, very peculiar, but it is a judgment call by the head referee.
Patsy Malta, our up referee today. Larry Schwartz, our down official. And Larry, this is one of his last few matches, as we heard before the match. He's retiring in November, so.
Yeah, Larry Schwartz has been around for some time. He used to ref my games when I was at Pepperdine, and we know that was back in the 90s.
Just a couple years ago. Not too long ago, right?
But absolutely a great ref, was always fair to me. Oh, look at that turn down the line. Anai showing that repertoire of skill.
Well, that's what she does. She can do it all. The reigning ABCA and ESPNW play-in showdown here in Tempe. The 13th ranked Utes just with a 2-point lead over Arizona State, who is still looking for its first Pac-12 win of the season. Kate Scott and Dane Blanton with you. There is the reigning Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week. And Dane, as you know, as everybody watching knows, anything can happen in Pac-12 volleyball. We've already had some crazy upsets this season, and ASU pulls within a point of Utah.
Well, you see, we talked how young ASU is, and right there, Beatty, a 6'1" freshman, comes in and just rips that ball with authority. Right now, ASU, they're just playing really free, very relaxed, and they're playing smart volleyball.
Well, Friday night, there was a big upset. Oregon State knocking off Washington. Arizona shocked USC a week ago. Washington State knocked off Colorado. So everybody beating everybody already this year, not even halfway through this Pac-12 season. And just like that, Aluma Okaro and the Devils tied at 15 with the Utes here in set number 1. Peterson directing traffic there for Arizona State. Greer Hughes with a nice block. And a double contact, and just like that, the Devils pull ahead.
You know, it's interesting. I like what Patsy Malta, the head referee, has done. She's been very consistent. You know, a lot of times you'll see no double contacts and you'll see a lot of ugly plays. Mm-hmm. But she has been fair and consistent on both sides of the net, and she set a standard, and now everyone knows what that standard is. So that's what you want in a referee, that consistency.
That's the most important out of every sport, as Carly Truman puts it down for the kill. Senior out of Tucson, Arizona. Tucson High Magnet School is where Truman played her high school ball. Okaro out of the back row, blocked, but ASU able to get it over. And again, in the middle, the freshman Beatty.
Second and third chance opportunities right there. It was Ivana Yeremik who got the cover, somehow getting that ball up in the air and saving it. Here's a good look at it. Look at this reaction time. Just scooping that ball up, giving ASU another opportunity, and they end up winning the point.
ASU doing a great job on defense so far today. Utah looks to be a little bit on its heels here in this first set. Although Kenzie Kerber able to put that one off hands. So just like that, we are again tied here in set number 1.
Yeah, I agree with you. Utah hasn't really found their groove just yet. Looked a little disjointed early on and not really in sync, where Arizona State, they're firing on all cylinders. Everything looks a lot smoother. And like I said, they're playing really free and going for it. And now the Utah block is starting to heat up.
Yeah, it's almost like they heard us a couple of minutes ago. Danny Barton there, number 1, and Berkeley Oblad combining for the double block.
All Barton right there. And targeting right back into the court.
Freshman ahead of Sandy Utah, the Utah Gatorade Player of the Year. Beth Lanier and company very happy to have her in Salt Lake for the next 4 years.
Megan Beatty, another solid kill off the block and out of bounds as she rotates out.
Here's the sophomore, Allie Johnson, out of right here in Tempe, Arizona. Yeremich. Off hands, and it counts.
Wow. And that ball went way up in the air. You better believe that Bethlehem here not happy
I was expecting
about
someone
the
to dig
pursuit,
that.
right? Somebody going to get that, and no one was there.
And Beth wants to talk things over with her squad as we take another look.
Look how high it goes off the block. Everyone's on their heels and just cannot make the play.
So, as these two teams chat things over, we will chat about how the national picture looks, because Dane, a big upset already today. Florida finally going down as number 8 Kentucky knocks off the Gators. I'm sure you've seen these teams already this year, so that's a pretty big one.
It's really big, but if you're Florida and how competitive and how much parity there is nationally, you almost want to get that monkey off your back. You know, you never want to lose, but
better
it's
to
not
do
a
it
bad
now
thing.
than later in the season, right? Like the teams that go into the NCAA tournament with no losses.
You don't want to go to the playoffs with no losses because you haven't been stung. You haven't had that wake-up call. And so now Florida has that, and I'm sure Mary Wise, it's a teaching moment. And that team is scary athletic and scary good.
As far as the national picture is concerned, what teams have stood out to you so far this year, Dane? Dane travels the country, obviously calling all the different conferences, so I like to pick his brain when we have him here in a Pac-12 match.
Well, it's difficult because, I think we're still relatively early. You know, I did a game early on, and Minnesota played Michigan State. Michigan State came into Minnesota, one of the toughest places to play, and swept them.
Wow.
And so anything can happen. The Big Ten is so strong. The Pac-12 always so strong. And so on any given night, you really can't take anything off. So, you know, there's a handful of teams that have that shot. I saw Texas the other night. They're always strong. They were in the national championship game the last 2 years. Of course, they won way back in, not way back, but in 2012. And like I said, it's all about preparing your team for the postseason. And every one of these coaches knows that.
And that's what every Pac-12 team gets to do, playing here in the Conference of Champions. Stanford, the only team right now in the top 10, because, again, everybody's beaten everyone. So Stanford undefeated in Pac-12 play. The last undefeated left. They're number 3 in the country. And then, obviously, the LA schools, Utah, number 13 in the land. UW, who's been struggling a little bit as of late. And who knows, ASU could be in the rankings later in the season. Yeah.
Penn State really strong, Nebraska strong. The traditionally strong schools are always up there. This year is no different, but I think what you're seeing is there's just so many more good players every single year. And I see it also in NCAA women's beach volleyball. You know, a few years ago, there's only a few teams and not as many players. And now it just continues to grow. And it's just awesome to see.
Awesome to see these student athletes going at it today here at Wells Fargo Arena. Adora and I almost dug up. But the Sun Devils' Hallie Johnson sends it out of bounds. And this is a very critical part of the match that Sanja Tomasevic talked to us about yesterday as far as their Friday match was concerned. She said, despite the fact that we got swept by Colorado, we would get to this point where it was really close with just 5-6 points left. And I was looking for that one player who was wanting to step up and say, just give me the ball, set me, I'm ready to go. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens these next few points here for Arizona State.
Yeah, you bring up a fascinating point because you can't teach that leadership in those clutch moments. The players just emerge. They want it really bad. They know that they put in the time and the work, and now is where the championships or the victories and the matches are won are in these last 5 points. From 20 to 25 is what it's all about, and it becomes a different game. Sometimes you get a little tighter. It's important to relax in these moments, and having such a young team, ASU, you're going to see some freshmen or sophomores start to emerge as that leader, but we haven't found it just yet, and you learn something new about your team every single time out, so it'll be interesting how they handle it. I think they've started this match off just fabulous. You couldn't ask for anything else, just trailing by 1 point. They're in striking distance.
Well, let's see what they do as they come out of the timeouts. Best of 5, obviously. We played a 25 in the first 4 sets, played a 15. If we do end up going to a set number 5, have to win by 2 in each set. So Utah with a 1-point lead right now here in the first. The Berkeley Oblad, the reigning Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week, at the line. And Oblad with a service error. Well, thank you very much, says ASU.
Yeah, you'll take that when you can get it. And we were talking about it's been a pretty clean first set. Not a lot of missed serves, so ASU has to capitalize if they want to win this first set.
Arizona has been great so far as service errors are concerned, but Utah, that's their 4th error of this first set. So it just feels like Utah kind of trying to still find its footing here in this first set, as they are now just 3 points away from dropping set number 1.
And another double contact called right there. And so the Sun Devils just 3 points away. I think this would be a shock if they could win this first set.
Well, they pushed UCLA to 4 sets earlier in the season. And I quickly able to get that double contact point back.
Anai, such a smart player with such a high volleyball IQ. And she's pushing the limits on those tips because she's holding it a little long, but you keep doing it, right? If you're not going to get the whistle blown, you use that control as much as possible. Very smart.
Sophomore Bailey Choi out of Honolulu, serving now for the Utes. Quick set to Onthue, who sends it wide. Utah pulled ahead, and Sanja Tomasevic wants a timeout.
That was unfortunate right there. Perfect pass, perfect set, and then Onthue just hitting it clearly just straight out of bounds. That's the ball that has to be hit in bounds. If someone's going to beat you, you want them to earn it. You don't want to hit it clearly out of bounds. If they get a good dig, a stuff block, that's fine, but you got to keep that ball in play.
Well, Dan, we already talked about the national picture already today, so let's focus a little more on the Pac-12 conference and just how great they are doing when it comes to teams in the top 25. You mentioned the Big Ten, Pac-12 right there with them. 6 teams in the top 25 this week.
Yeah, I think those are the top 2 conferences, and the numbers don't lie right there. The Pac-12 always such a solid conference, and it's hard for some players, even if you're a star in club volleyball or in high school, when you start playing in one of these top conferences, and each and every night, there's no nights off. It's so competitive. Some rise to the occasion, and some don't, but to be a player in the Pac-12 and to be a student athlete, it's a huge commitment, and it's a great honor as well.
Yeah, and that's what Sanja was talking to us about yesterday. So happy to have a former ASU superstar, Macy Gardner, who graduated just a couple of years ago as one of her assistant coaches, and just trying to really tell the student athletes that she has. Yes, they all wanted to play in the Pac-12, but do you have what you need to be a great Pac-12 athlete, to put in the dedication on and off the floor when you're studying, how you take care of your body, your sleep schedule, all that stuff? That's all part of the culture change that she's trying to implement here in Tempe. All right, here we go. 23-22 Utah at the end of this first set. Tough serve from Choi. And Hughes, who started off the set hot, comes back here at the end for ASU.
Give a lot of credit to Hallie Harker right there, the senior, sliding her feet, getting the right pass, and that allows Hughes to get the kill on the outside. Great offensive play.
Yeah, here's Harker now from the service line. Tough one there, and not able to make something of it. Free ball for the Utes. They'll set an eye. Who's looking cross court, but sends it wide, and that's going to set up a set point for the Sun Devils.
Oh, wow. On that first hit, Anai didn't even have a clean cut, and she just ripped it that time, just going for too sharp of an angle. So some very fortunate plays for ASU. The question is, can they take advantage of them? I mean, rarely are you going to see what quite possibly is the best player in the nation in Anai hit this ball wide, so you got to take advantage of it. That's not going to happen very often.
No, not at all. But that was one of the things that Coach Beth Lanier was talking to us about. You know, it's hard when you just see the numbers and you see that she's now the all-time kill leader for Utah. She's at back-to-back 500-plus kill seasons. But if you look at the hitting percentage, she actually had 14 kills on Friday at Arizona, but she only hit 102. So kind of struggling a little bit while also being successful the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's the hard thing, is consistency. You have my old college coach at Pepperdine, Marv Dunphy, used to tell me, you got to eliminate the peaks and valleys. You want more consistency. You don't want those really highs. You don't want those really lows. And that's a trick, and it's hard to do. And you have to create really good habits in order to achieve that success night in and night out.
Well, Greer Hughes has been pretty darn successful in this first set for Sani Tomasevic. 7 kills on 13 total attempts. She's hitting .385 for the Devils after what Sani said was a less than perfect week of practice. So great to see the freshman on the outside stepping up.
I threw you a curveball when I said Hughes.
You did throw me a curve.
I knew something.
You had a feeling she was going to have a great first set. Here we go. Set point for ASU. They come to an eye. No surprise. They're in the middle this time. And we're tied at 24.
So scary. Anai can hit anywhere on the court. In the back row, on the left side, on the right side, in the middle. And if you're Arizona State right now, you want to have someone tracking her at all times, committing and in her face.
Also a great server. Quick to the freshman who gets a little roll from the tape, and she'll take it, Megan Beatty.
We're fortunate to get the roll right there. Usually when that ball clips the top of the tape, it gives the defense time to adjust. Not that time.
So set point number 2 for Okaro and ASU. Truman pushes it into the block. Can Choi get it? She does, just barely. ASU with a free ball. Peterson tried the dump. Utah read it. Come back to Hughes, who goes off Carly Truman. ASU takes set number 1.
Wow, Hughes, I thought the earlier angle shot was something. That was so sharp, it completely caught Truman off guard. She takes it kind of off of the shoulder, and
well, their football team knocked off the number 5 team in the country last night over at Sun Devil Stadium. So who knows, maybe Greer Hughes and company feeling good because of that upset last night, thinking they can do some things here against the 13th ranked Utah Utes, and Hughes led the way in that first set.
Absolutely came out of the gate on fire. 8 kills in the first set for Hughes, hitting .429 if you can believe it. She's focused, she's locked in, and she's ready to lead her team here on a Sunday.
Just had 8 kills total on Friday in the Sun Devils' loss to Colorado. And as Dane mentioned, already has 8 kills in 1 set so far today. Does have, though, double-figure kills in 10 of 19 matches that the Sun Devils have played. So when she's on, she can be playing like we've seen already this afternoon.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a different Utah team come out here in this second set, a little more focused and a little more hungry, playing with a sense of urgency. Maybe a little cruise control in that first set.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like it.
Feeling things out, but a lot of great things. You know, they hit 250. They had 5 blocks despite the loss. So Arizona State might want to be keen on that. They're going to have to pick up their blocking, which was only 2, if they are going to keep up with Utah. But a shock, I think, to Utah right out of the gate right there, and a big confidence builder, quite possibly, for the Sun Devils.
Yeah, Sonny Tomasovic in her first year as head coach here at Arizona State, and expecting her first daughter, her first child to be born very shortly. Talked to her before the match, and she said, yeah, her daughter-to-be was weighed just a couple of weeks ago, already almost 8 pounds. So she's ready to pop her out and have another member of this Sun Devil volleyball team. Well, there is the junior middle, Carmen Onfue, starting the Sun Devils off just how they started off set number 1 with the first point, a confidence builder, as you mentioned, Dane.
Yeah, what's most impressive with ASU right now, Hallie Harker, defensively is everywhere on the court, and it's giving ASU second and third opportunities. They're not getting frustrated by not putting the ball away immediately. They're being patient.
Yerovich, cross court deep, 2-0 ASU. As you mentioned, Dane, leading the Pac-12 right now in digs is their defensive leader, Hallie Harker, in the libero jersey there. And Bethlehem here in Utah just kind of looking for answers. Sluggish start from the 13th ranked team in the country. How do they find their footing here in the second set? Yerovich again.
That time, Hallie Johnson making the defensive play, and ASU right now converting at a very high rate, going from defense to offense quickly and getting that ball to the floor.
Yerovich already with 6 kills. She's hitting 500 today, so just great consistency from the Devils, which is something their coach has been looking for. Said they've been showing spurts of good play, but haven't been able to put it together. Maybe today is the day that they're able to pick up their first Pac-12 win. Here's the sophomore out of Murrieta, California for Utah, Bree Dorman serving. Whoa.
Wow.
The speed of Carly Truman's arm, my goodness.
And I always say it's very difficult to teach a quick arm. You either have a quick arm or you don't. She gets up and closes in on that ball. Another player might not even have been able to get on top of it and had to roll it over, but she just crushes it.
That was crazy fast right in front of us here near the scorer's table. And there she is again, back-to-back kills by Carly Truman.
Truman, such a phenomenal athlete. You can just tell the way she moves out on the court. Makes it look really easy, very quick, very springy, and has a very high volleyball IQ.
And no doubt excited to play the Arizonas, as we mentioned earlier. A Tucson native. Always love coming back to your home state and putting on a show. So Utah started off this second set a little bit sluggish. Truman has turned them around, although she does send that one long for the ASU points.
You know, checking out the stat sheet, what is astonishing, I don't think I've missed one, but ASU has 0 serving errors. And that's going to put you in a nice position if you can continue to keep the ball in. And they're serving the ball tough. It's not like they're serving the ball easy. And so that's not an easy feat. And that ball just absolutely blasted by Kerber.
One of 2 lefty freshmen, Danny Barton and Kenzie Kerber. That's got to have Bethlehem here pretty excited about the future in Salt Lake.
Yeah, she does not look like a freshman ripping that ball.
Out of Chino Hills, California. And speaking of rips, there's Onfue again.
Onfue putting that ball away, but most impressive, though, Peterson. I love how she faces up. Every time she positions herself and faces up, and she can be very deceptive at times. I think she's doing a good job at keeping the Utah blockers at bay.
Truman a little bit off the net. Was looking for that back corner, but just missed it.
We've seen a couple of those errors by Truman. We've seen the athleticism, but when it's not there, she needs to keep that ball in.
It's kind of been, as you mentioned, Dane, that Arizona State is making the most of their opportunities they know they can capitalize on. They have a bit of an unforced error that time, but but not forcing anything, whereas it seems like Utah maybe trying to force a little bit, maybe gripping a little bit too hard after dropping that first set.
And it's tough, when you get to this point, 6-1 in the conference, 15-3 overall. Sometimes you have those games that are kind of a lull. They've been on the road quite a bit, and so sometimes you can get a little caught off guard, but it shows you how dangerous the Pac-12 can be at 0-7. Arizona State giving Utah everything they could ask for.
Speaking of everything you could ask for, there's our first look at Launga Gauta, LG as they call her. Junior out of Garden Grove, California, stepped in for Adora and I on Friday in the third set. Had 4 kills on 8 total attempts. So not much drop off when they give Adora a little bit of a blow. Luma Caro, the senior leader as far as offense is concerned for this Arizona squad. Troy's dump read by the Devils. Rear Hughes, just long.
Yeah, rare error by Hughes right there. You say Bailey Choi tried to go over on, and I see a lot of setters sometimes predetermine when they're going to go over. It's very important that you just have a feel of when to go over and when maybe the defense on the other side of the net is asleep.
Hughes makes up for that last error by going off hands for the kill.
Hughes on the outside does a great job. You see the big double arm lift, 2 blockers in her face, so she goes cross court and successful once again.
LG, money that time for the Utes.
LG ripping it again. She's got a quick arm herself. Look how she closes, gets out. Big arm lift to get up in the air, and then she just rips it to the backcourt.
2-time NJCAA All-American. Transfer out of Northwest College in Powell, Wyoming. Happy to have number 5 now in Salt Lake for her final 2 seasons as the senior. Tani Louis Palamana puts it down.
That's what Arizona State has to watch out for, is that big block. But what I do like is they're continuing to challenge, continuing to be aggressive.
And again, another service error for Utah. Their 5th service error, and we're not even halfway through the second set.
Yeah, 5 errors, 2 aces. And you know what? You'll take that. That's close to a 50% ratio. If you have 10 errors with 5 aces, you'll take it any day. And so they're putting some pressure on and rolling the dice a little bit more than Arizona State is at this point from the back line.
Arizona State wanting a tip, but our officials say you're not going to get it. So another point for the Utes.
Yeah, it looked like ASU, a few players thought they saw the touch, but no line judge, no head referee, no umpire saw anything. So Utah's point.
Take another look at this one. Hard to tell from that angle. So we'll play on.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell on a normal game camera whether there's a touch or not. I don't know, Kate, if you've done games with the Hawkeye system, with those 16 cameras that run at, I think, 200 frames per second, you can see almost everything.
Those are incredible.
And it'll be great one day. Wow, that was a rip. One day, hopefully every match will have those, because I think the players love the challenge system, but a lot of times it becomes inconclusive if you don't have the technology to see those real micro touches.
Yeah, definitely. Friday night, so it was up in Pullman calling the Washington State-Oregon match. It had a number of replays, but obviously not the Hawkeye system, so the officials did a great job with what they had.
And were a lot of them inconclusive?
Actually, only one of them was.
Okay.
Yeah, two of the 3 replays were conclusive.
Oh, good.
Just because you could see some ball movement. It was off of contact, off of serves that were deemed aces and one was deemed out, and both were questioned if they touched a player on their way out of bounds. And you were able to see the ball slightly change direction, but it was incredibly difficult. And the one that was inconclusive was the line.
Got it.
The line decision late in the match.
Yeah, when I did a Texas KU game, and I think we had 3 or 4 challenges, and they were all inconclusive. You just couldn't see from the angles that were out there, but
these student athletes hit so hard and so fast.
Ball's moving real quick.
Oblad loves that slide. Utah loved to keep giving it to her. Beth Lanier said that she was screaming for that shot at the end of Friday's win at Arizona. So Utah starting to settle down here in this second set. Dropped the first one to ASU. Now starting to look much more like the 13th ranked team in the country. What a dig by LG. Hughes looking for hands. And she gets it. Points, ASU.
She was adamant about that, selling her case immediately.
Yes, she was.
That she saw those hands. And fortunately, the line judge in the corner got a glimpse of it.
So Arizona State keeping it close here in the second set. Truman looking for the back corner.
And just like that, women's volleyball, or volleyball in general, is such a momentum sport. You could be down 3 or 4 points and then all of a sudden get yourself right back in it. And that's the goal. You just don't want the opposition to get 2, 3, 4 points in a row. 1 or 2 is okay at times, but when you start to give up those bunches of points, that's when you find yourself in a little bit of trouble.
So we'll step away as Utah, just like they did in set number in Tempe, Arizona. And a great start for the Arizona Sun Devils inside of Wells Fargo Arena as they took the first set from the 13th ranked team in the country. Utah up 15-13 here in set number 2, but it has been a wild weekend all over the Pac-12, on the football fields, here on the volleyball courts. Oregon State already upset Washington this weekend. So it is who knows what weekend. Maybe Friday the 13th was a part of it, but we are having a good time so far inside of Wells Fargo Arena. Dane Blanton, Kate Scott with you. Thanks so much for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. And there's Aluma Okara, who's been fairly quiet with freshman Greer Hughes dominating, but looking good here, Okara.
I love that off speed right there. It looks like she's going to rip the ball, and then she just downshifts it, rolls it over, and you got to earn that. And you do it by bringing power early, getting the defense on their heels, and then that opens up that smooth little roll shot.
Interestingly enough, Utah without their senior star, Adora Anai right now, who's struggling a bit, just hitting 77 so far, 4 kills, 3 airs on 13 total attacks. So Beth Lanier has her over watching right now as this second set reaches a 15-all level. Back set to Oblad, sends the ball right over to us at the scorer's table. Heads up, everybody okay? Everybody's okay.
Right now, this is kind of the point in the match where Utah has to start to play with more of a sense of urgency. They don't want to find themselves down by 2 sets and then kind of pushing the panic button. And right now, they're starting to make a move, and I think they sense that they need to close out this second set, and they need to do it in their typical Utah this year, their fashion of playing a high level.
Well, you mentioned it earlier, Dane, the fact that this is their second straight road trip. So when we were talking to Beth Lanier yesterday, she said it would be a dream scenario if we were able to go 4-0 in trips to the Washingtons and Arizonas back-to-back before they welcome the Oregons, actually the LA schools, pardon me, to Salt Lake next week, because it doesn't get any easier. But if you can somehow go 4-0, that would be massive. But you can maybe starting to see a little bit of the tiredness of back-to-back road trips in these youths.
Yeah, you're on the road a lot. You, as a student athlete, you have such a big workload, and it's so difficult to prepare yourself and focus every single time out throughout the season. So you're going to have those lulls within the season. That's just a natural occurrence, but if you can get through those, I mean, wow. And they've been really pushing through. The team's been tested at times. I mentioned earlier, their 3 losses have all been 5-setters, so they're never laying down and just calling it a day. They're going to battle every single point, and that's what they're all about, and that's what Beth Lanier's all about.
And it doesn't get much better than winning, even if you're struggling, which is what the Utes have done. They're looking for their 5th straight win. Well, coming up tonight, be sure to catch a brand new edition of Sports Report. Mike Gann, Ashley Adamson back in our San Francisco studios breaking down what has been, as I mentioned already, a crazy weekend in every sport here in the Conference of Champions. That's tonight at 9, right here on Pac-12 Arizona and Pac-12 Mountain. And obviously, you'll have highlights from this match as well as the rest of the volleyball matches going on around the Pac-12 Conference. Well, Megan Beattie was good when Arizona State needed her in that first set, and here she is again in set number 2.
Yeah, and I really like what Beattie's doing. Just a freshman, she's shown some great offensive skills and also defensively. She's a great blocker in the middle, knows how to read it well.
Freshman out of Cambridge, Ontario. Nice block that time by Beattie. Sets up O'Carroll out of the back row. And there's Beattie again. Beattie with a block and Beattie with a termination.
It's so great the way she's playing. And it's not always a stuff block. Sometimes the soft block just deflects the ball up in the air, gives themselves a second opportunity, and she's playing aggressive.
Only played in 6 matches so far this season. It's her 7th, and Beattie is looking pretty darn good so far. Nice touch that time, but great up by Bree Dorman. Another pancake dig by the Utes. And there is the block. Well, Utah needed that one, Dane.
Yeah, and Utah gave a free ball over the net. No one was from Arizona State was at the net. You got to crush that ball quickly when Utah's defense is off, and that is a huge point. Seemed like the momentum was starting to swing for Arizona State, and Utah grabbing it right back.
Senior middle Tawny Louis Falimana. Big part of that block. Beth Lanier says just a great leader of this Utah team, willing her Utes. There she is this time with a big swing, number 20 in the middle. Beth Lanier says that when she needs somebody to step up, number 20 is there. Great leader with her words and with her actions.
You're good at her name, too. Louis Falimana.
Don't jinx me. Don't jinx me. I think I'll just stick with Tawny maybe the rest of the match. Know who's good at her name is Thad Anderson, who calls a lot of Utah matches. Always impressed with his pronunciations. And there's Kenzie Kerber. So Utah coming off that point just a couple of points ago that felt big. Now starting to pull away from Arizona State as they try to even us up at a set apiece as we head towards intermission. O'Carroll out of the back row, but it's long.
O'Carroll going for it right there. Didn't get enough topspin on the ball, and now Utah pulling away with a 4-point lead.
Well, we mentioned it just a moment ago. We are quickly approaching intermission, which can only mean one thing. We're going to send you back to San Francisco for our Pac-12 intermission report. Chris Francis on the helm today, and he's going to preview the rest of the games coming up today on the Pac-12 network. And we've been talking about it, Dana, a wild weekend of Pac-12 football, including last night's massive ASU upset of number 5 Washington here in the desert. Their first win over a top 5 team since 1996. I'm sure all you Sun Devil fans remember that one, a 19-0 takedown of number 4 Nebraska. So it has been a great weekend here in the Pac-12 Conference, and Chris will have all the highlights from that at our intermission report. All right, Dane, what are both coaches saying right now in these huddles with just a couple of points away from Utah taking the second set?
Well, Utah, they won that point a few points ago that seemed like really swung the momentum on their side, and they're starting to capitalize, starting to play like the team that we've seen for this season so far. We didn't see their sharpness in that first set. Right now, they want to continue to put service pressure on ASU. That's been the name of their game so far, and it's starting to work because when ASU is out of system, they don't get a great swing on the ball, and with Utah's block, that's most effective. On the ASU side, it's all about pass, first contact, get that pass so you can run your options on offense.
Here's sophomore Bailey Choi. Had a great true freshman season last year. The Utes went 20-12 overall. And she gets a little bit of help that time from Hallie Johnson. Johnson tried to pull her hands back at the last second, but not able to get away without a touch. Well, just as you mentioned, Dane, all about serving and passing. Good serve that time by Choi. Another good one to Hallie Harker. They go back to Beatty, and the Utah block is there, so the Utes really turning it on here at the end of set number 2.
That's that serve, and that's that block. Serving tough, getting ASU a little bit off, and right now, 6 service errors for Utah, but 3 service aces.
About with that block in the middle. Number 5 for Utah. Choi will set LG this time, and she comes back-to-back in for Adora Anai, and LG is playing great.
She got up there, wanted to hit that ball, but had the wherewithal to kind of downshift mid-air and then tip the ball down the line. It was the right call.
Sets up a set point here for Bailey Choi and the Utes. And Utah uses the block to even us up at a set apiece. Well, what a way for the Utes to finish this second set. It was kind of up and down for the first 15 points and then just turned on the burners to take set number 2, 25-17.
Yeah, well, they're winning on the back line. They're serving tougher, and their block has been on fire. 8 blocks to 2 at the moment, and Arizona State's going to have to turn that around if they're going to slow down Utah, because Utah now, you can feel the chemistry coming together.
We definitely can as we look at the top hitters so far. Carly Truman and Greer Hughes for both of those teams, as we're joined by the head coach of the Arizona State Sun Devils, Sania Tomasevic. Well, Sania, great first set. Took it from the number 13 team in the country, and then Utah turned it on at the end of the second. So what is your take on the first 2 sets from your Sun Devils?
Well, not to take anything away from Utah, I think they did a good job there at the end of the game, putting pressure on our hitters and serving tougher. But at 17-17, we can't lose like the way we did at the end. It was a mistake after mistake on our part, and we need to clean that up.
Yeah, are you? The consistency is one thing, but the blocking by Utah has been a big difference. Anything you can do to slow down that blocking?
Well, we need to pass better, so it makes it harder for them to read our offense, because right now we're very predictable, so they can put the blocker up super easy, 2 blockers up at all times. So we need to make sure we pass better, so that way we can spread the ball and spread our offense.
All right, Sonia, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
That's Sania Tomasevic, first-year head coach of the Arizona State Sun Devils, who took set number 1 from the Utah Utes. Number 13, Utah, came on back, so we are all square at a set apiece as we send you back to San Francisco. Chris Francis awaits with our intermission report. Battled back and took the second set 25-17, and we're joined now by the head coach of the Utah Utes, Beth Lanier, as we bring you inside of Wells Fargo Arena. And Beth, let's talk about it. Team did not look very good in that first set. A little bit struggling at the start of the second set, but then turned it on. So what was your message to your student athletes in the locker room?
Yeah, I think what kind of turned it around in the second set is we just started working a little bit harder on the first contact. We were getting kind of blown up on the pass, and defensively we just weren't moving our feet very well, and so we just talked about just working harder at getting ourselves in better positions on that first contact. So I think what kind of turned it around for us.
Are you pleased so far with the service game? It seems like that's been a focus, and you're winning that battle.
Yeah, well, we're serving well when we're serving in, but we're missing a few too many for my liking. But we're serving tough when we're in. So.
Okay, and we saw at the end of the second set, a little bit surprising, Adora and I not in, but LG stepped up and played really well.
Yeah, LG's been practicing well and has been just chomping at the bit and ready to go when needed. And Adora's just struggling, and so we went to LG, and she did a great job.
Yeah, worked out. All right, yeah. Beth, thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.
That's Beth Lanier, the head coach of the Utah Utes, now in her 28th season, and in her first season here at Arizona. Greer Hughes, man, oh man, did she look good. Was that number 1?
Yeah, Greer Hughes started off with a focus. She had intent today that she was going to come out and be a difference maker. She put up 8 kills in that first set alone, but at the net, it has been all Utah. That has been a big difference maker. Not only the serve, but the blocking wall, leading 9 blocks to 2, so completely dominating that statistic, and they're spreading it around. Everybody's getting in on the action.
Yeah, a lot of different student athletes with blocks recorded already today for the Utes as we take a look at our overall match stats through the first 2 sets. So as you mentioned, Dane, Utah is serving well, and as far as the hitting percentage is concerned, really stepped it up in that second set. 344 was their hitting percentage in the second set, which led them to that second set victory.
Yeah, I look at that hitting percentage, which is really a solid hitting percentage for Utah, but more importantly, those blocks, and then you see the serving risk reward. 6 errors, but 3 aces for Utah, whereas Arizona State playing it a little more safe. Haven't had any aces, haven't had any errors, playing some smart volleyball, and they're in a really good position right now, if you ask me, at 0-7 in the Pac-12, but they're pushing Utah, who's a top 10 team in the nation as far as I'm concerned. 13 on the AVCA top 20, but 9 in the RPI, Utah. And so ASU playing a smart, strategic game. Can they keep it up is the question.
Well, that's what you kind of want in every sport, right? When you're playing a team that should beat you, you kind of have to play your best. You have to play a clean match. You can't make unforced errors. You can't do anything to make it easier for a higher-ranked team. So I'm right with you, Dane. Looking good so far for Arizona State. Utah turned it on at the end of that second set, so should be a whole lot of fun now here at set number 3, Wells Fargo Arena. Here's the senior, Aluma Okaro. Out of Lakewood, California, started her collegiate career at USF, the University of San Francisco, before transferring down here to Tempe. Man, the quick swing of Carly Truman, just incredible.
It's like a cannon. It sounds a little different. She gets up, it looks like she's going to roll shot, and then she just blasts it. Give Arizona State a lot of credit. They're hanging in that impact zone, fearless.
Had 12 kills, a season high 5 blocks, and Utah's upset win over number 9 Washington just last week did Carly Truman. There's the sophomore Bree Dorman. Looked darn good as a true freshman. Played in 29 of the Utes matches, started 13 matches, and now settling in to the libero role as a sophomore in Salt Lake. Nice play by Nicole Peterson. Running away from that one. That was like a behind-the-back dunk.
I'm sitting here and I'm a little fascinated that Adoria Anai is on the bench. Mm-hmm. This is this week's ESPNW, this week's AVCA College National Player of the Week. And she's not on the court right now. And you don't see that very often. But right now, Utah doing whatever it takes to make it happen. And, give a lot of credit to Beth Lanier. She knows her players and she knows her pieces. But it is surprising to see such a powerful player like Anai right now. And she's on the bench.
Had to ask Beth about that as she came back from intermission, but it's something that you see coaches do, right? If your top players, there's that Utah block, their 10th block now of the afternoon. It's something you see coaches do. If your top players aren't playing well, at a certain point, you got to just take them out, and sometimes watching the game helps them refocus, or sometimes also just motivates them to want to get back out there.
It's true. It's usually an underclassman, though. Mm-hmm. A senior usually has that experience to make the adjustments. Maybe it's not their game, but they're so valuable because of that experience that they can do things in other ways. And it's definitely a wake-up call. If you're an eye, you're thinking, I need to be on that court. What do I need to do to get myself back out there?
We'll see what happens next few sets here in Tempe. Until then, LG Lango Gauta for Utah has filled in nicely for Anai in that front row. Also helps to have number 12 Berkeley Oblad there right beside her. Reigning Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week. And we'll see Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week earlier in the season, so she does it all for Utah there in the middle. There's Oblad with the block. Come back to Jeremic.
And that ball never cleared the net. So close, and it might have trickled in between the block, but it just never cleared. It's got to touch a blocker for you to get 3 new contacts.
So Ngata sends it into the net, giving the Sun Devils a little point. Here's Nicole Peterson. Back set to Oblad, dug up by Courtney LaFell. A good effort that time by the freshman Kerber out of the back row, but just a little bit too far in front of her. So ASU again, as they have in the previous 2 sets, a good start to this 3rd set.
I really like their composure. And you look at them on paper and you think, oh, you know, they're really struggling, but they're playing high-level volleyball at time. And it's just about consistency for them to keep that level up. But they're obviously able to take instruction, being young, and go out there and execute a game plan. They've been doing it all afternoon, and it's working. They're right in the mix.
And that's what their coach, Sandra Simasovic, told us, that they have the talent. We're seeing the talent this afternoon. It's just about putting it together for an entire match, not just streaks of 5 or 6 points. And there's O'Caro. Well, the Sun Devils definitely putting it together so far this afternoon.
O'Caro right there ripping that ball, and it's been an aggressive approach the entire afternoon here for Arizona State. Just not flinching, not really caring about some of those balls coming right back at them because of that big wall that Utah's been putting up, and I really like the composure.
Nice dig that time by Choi. Over to Greer Hughes, who led the way in the first set for Arizona State. And a nice shot from number 27 there.
She has such range. We've seen that really sharp angle. And then when she hits the ball down the line right there, she's not focused on crushing it straight down. Sometimes the most effective shots are in that very back third of the court.
Hughes leading all hitters, 12 kills on the afternoon for Greer Hughes, hitting .429 for the Arizona State Sun Devils. You picked her right off the top, Dane. I thought maybe you were just guessing, but you're onto something. That's why they pay you the big bucks, right? Said in addition to Aluma O'Caro, everybody watching should keep an eye on Greer Hughes. Here she's again. And Utah block, my goodness. They get up high. Nice rally here. Hughes into the block and down.
There's that second opportunity, that time created by Ivana Jeremic with a dig. A really strong dig to the nice spot. Peterson puts it up, and then Hughes challenging 2 blockers right in her face. She goes to the seam, which is right in between the middle blocker and that pin blocker, and she kind of squeaks it through.
Back to Hughes, who this time takes a little off, causing some trouble for the Utes.
She's got to rip this one.
She does. The Utah block is there. So they'll try Aluma O'Caro in the opposite. Back to O'Caro, who puts it down for the point.
So awesome to see right there. Arizona State with that patience and the composure. I can't tell you how difficult it is to not get frustrated when that ball keeps coming back on your side of the net. But you see that constant preparation. O'Caro hits a ball, gets blocked, gets back in position, and ready to go again.
And again, Utah struggling to do the simple things. The block has been saving them so far here in this 3rd set. Can't save them from that. Greer Hughes on fire.
Wow. What a rip. And the energy, the momentum has been taken away by Arizona State. Whatever was told in that intermission, they're coming out here and executing.
My, oh my, are they ever. Arizona State said it during the break. Just another afternoon in the Pac-12 Conference. Yes, those scores are correct. ASU 0-7 right now in Pac-12 play. They took the first set from the 13th ranked team in the country. We're leading for a while in set number 2, and they have a 10-6 lead over the visiting Utah Utes here in set 3. Everybody can beat everybody here in the Pac-12, and Utah right now 6-1 in conference play, tied with also 6-1 USC, just a game or a loss back from undefeated Stanford. But Dane, I mean, it's what we saw. Arizona, who nobody was expecting to beat USC, swept the Trojans just a couple of weeks ago, so anything can happen in the Conference of Champions.
Yeah, really, you cannot sleep. You cannot take a night off or a day off, whatever you want to call it. You have to come to play every single time because every team's tenacious. Look at this Arizona State team having a tough season, 0-7, a rebuilding situation, but you're going to get your leaders emerging. And right now, after that last time out, Utah has come out, continued to enforce that wall of a block at the net, and go back on that end line and serve tough. Those two categories have kind of been devastating to Arizona State. If they can slow down the block or the serve, they'll be in great shape.
Hughes sends that one just wide, and she was looking for the line, so Gauta back to the service line for the Utah Utes, and as her coach said, has been playing well in practice and really taking advantage of the fact that she's getting some minutes here with Adora and I on the bench. Now the Utah block reading the fact that they have been wanting to use Hughes. Nicole Peterson smartly goes to O'Connor there on the right side for the kill.
And Utah has to be careful. They're blocking so well right now, but they have to keep their frame of mind because it can get frustrating. When you're making a lot of blocks, but they're not hitting the floor, you can get frustrated, but they're continuing to put up great form. Oh, wow. Little quick spin back into the court. Looked like there was no way she was going to get there, but she almost waited for the block to disappear and then quickly snaps. She's got a great quick arm with a nice wrist snap on top of that.
That was a crazy angle from Carly Truman. Like an inside-out shot. Not sure how she did that. Great up by Dorman on the dump from Nicole Peterson. And now Utah, just like they did in set number 2, starting to turn things on.
How about Dorman, though? That pancake, we call it, when you slide that hand right in between the floor and the ball, and she really made that last play look easy.
Making me hungry at the same time.
You missed breakfast, huh?
I did, yeah. Utah not missing anything these last couple of points, though, and Sonny Tomasevic wants to talk things over with her Devils as Utah has come right back out of that last time out, down 10-6 when we came back from our last commercial break and have now pulled ahead 13-11. So let's take a look at how the rest of the Pac-12 is doing so far this afternoon. Well, okay. So apparently just like us here in Tempe. In Tucson, they split the first 2, and up in Wazoo, they split the first 2 as well. But that was the shocker for me on Friday. Oregon State's knocking off Washington. So look out, Jen Greeny and you Cougs in Pullman.
Yeah, you know, Washington, they had high expectations coming in. You know, I was surprised that they were seated number 1 in the Pac-12 over Stanford, who won a national championship. So a lot of pressure for Washington.
As we take a look at our Pac-12 standings, Stanford alone at the top, 7-0. But as we talked about, Utah and USC right there with them. Washington and UCLA behind them. Stanford knocked off UCLA earlier in the weekend as we are having some fun here in Tempe. A little worm. It's always a good day here at the Wells Fargo Arena, right? But yeah, Dana, back-to-back Pac-12 champions is Washington. Now, they have been dealing with a number of injuries so far this season. We're missing a couple of big stars when the Utes were able to knock them off last week. And that kind of seems to be a theme the last couple of weeks. But that's what happens, right, as the season goes on. Everybody dealing with injuries. Oregon was without a couple of key pieces when they were able to sneak past Washington State up in Pullman on Friday night.
Yeah, it's challenging, and you just never know when it's going to happen when you get hit with that kind of that injury season where a lot of players end up going down. I did a match, Hawaii at Long Beach State a Big West match, and Long Beach had 6 scholarship athletes unavailable to play.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
What a challenge.
It's when you learn to coach. That's what Matt Ulmer told me. I was calling that Friday night match up in Pullman with Oregon. He said, you just figure it out. It's nothing like being challenged in your first year as a head coach. Sonny Tomasevic being challenged here at Arizona State, but 3 other first-year coaches here in the Pac-12 Conference, including Kevin Hamley, who takes over for the retired John Dunning. Stanford doing pretty darn well, though, so far here in 2017. Matt McShane, the other first-year head coach at Cal. Well, and this is what we saw in set number 2. Same situation. Arizona State started off hot. Utah started to come back, and then it wasn't anything that Utah was doing that was overpowering, but Arizona State just started to make more errors than they wanted. Allowed the Utes to pull away. Let's see if they're able to resettle here halfway through this third set. Oh, Caro in the back row. How did she get that one? And a double touch called, and the Utes do not like it.
Yeah, a little confusion. All the players looking up and trying to ask for some sort of explanation right there. Here's the hit. There's the dig, and we didn't get a view of it. Interesting call right there, and I kind of agree with the Utah players. I'm not sure exactly what the official call is. Beth Lanier up off the bench. She's not too happy about it either.
Yeah, understandably. Thought I saw our up referee put up the double contact.
But there was no contact that looked like it warranted that type of a call. I guess she does have the best angle up there.
Utes, though, able to come back as Coach Lanier talks things over quickly with Carly Truman. The Utes with a 3-point lead now here in the third set. And they're good up by Dorman. And there's one of the freshman lefties, Danny Barton, with the kill.
It's so nice to have a left-hander on the right side. When that inside arm is your power arm, it's the best situation. So an opposite who hits on the right, if you can be a left-hander, it really benefits the offense. Current stats, 13 blocks for Utah, 2 for Arizona State, but they are finding a way to keep in there. Oh, just must have heard me, right?
Hey, said, I hear you talking about that Utah block. Well, don't forget about us. Carmen Andue for the Devils. Junior out of Madrid, Spain. Started her American collegiate career at American University back in Washington, D.C. back in the 2015 season. Trained with the Spanish national team before last year. And Sonny Tomasevic says she's the best blocking middle for these Sun Devils, and we saw it just a moment ago. Terminates that time, Andue.
And it needs to be noted that last serve, Peterson serve that went out of bounds, that was their first service error of the match. Is that right?
I think so.
We've been tracking it the whole time. That is impressive, to go 2.5 sets without serving a ball out of bounds. No aces, but still a challenge to keep that in bounds so many times. I'm impressed.
That's what they're trying to do. Just be consistent. Let Utah be the team that makes the mistakes, and they made another mistake there. And just like that, Arizona State has closed within a point of Utah here in set number 3. Tough serve from Jeremic. Well, hey, we just talked about it, right? A couple of points to go with their first service air. And there's Ivana Jeremic with their first service ace. Just keeping things even here in Tempe. Quick set to Luafalamana. Nice block by Anthue. LG blocks. And just a little bit of a miscommunication. You can see Jeremic upset with herself for touching that one as Harker came sliding in.
And you love to see that disappointment, because you know that the standard is so high. They're playing at a level, they know that that's a play that they should make, and now it's about bouncing back.
Utah with a 19-18 lead, tied at a set apiece. And Choi this time the one showing emotion. She puts her head in her hands after that service error.
Once again, Arizona State has positioned themselves right where they want to be at the end of a set. It's like they're playing the real smart ball, and Utah has been overpowering at times. But how about Hughes in a one-on-one situation, pressing that right hand over the net for a very timely stuff block. Up, over, textbook technique right there, and then the emotion. That's going to be a big lift for Arizona State.
Freshman out of Fishers, Indiana, having a match to remember here on this Sunday. And there's Okaro on the right side. And Arizona State really showing they want this third set.
Okaro went up another level right there to get that one. And wow, some momentum and some patience. And right now, Arizona State completely in the driver's seat.
Wow, let's take another look at this one. Another good block by Hughes. And you're right, Dane. Okaro just hanging up there for that one.
Just climbed the ladder and just went over the top. And you see the smiles, you see the body language. I always like to note the body language out there, especially when things are going poorly. Right now, everything going the way of Arizona State, but they're using that. You always say celebrate your successes. Act like you've been there before, but celebrate, because that can give you that momentum needed to get over the top.
Well, and Arizona State has been so close so many times already in this Pac-12 season. 0-7, looking for their coach's first Pac-12 win. And one of the things that Sonia Tomasevic told us when we were talking to her the other day was that the team has looked fantastic in practice, and then they get to matches and just have trouble putting together the consistency. Went over, talked to her just before the start of this match, said, how'd they look in pre-match practice today? She said, not very good, so I'm hoping that means finally in the match we turn things around, and so far so good for the Sun Devils.
Absolutely. I'm sure that's not a pattern she wants to continue.
Probably not.
But she knows her team well, and they were a little off in warm-up, and now they're playing some of the best volleyball that they have played this entire season, and they're giving the number 13 ranked Utah Utes all they can handle.
Picked to finish last in the Pac-12 this season, understandably, with a new coach and tons of turnover. 10 newbies for this Arizona State squad, with freshmen and transfers included. Looking for a big upset win, just like their football team was able to get last night over at Sun Devil Stadium here in Wells Fargo Arena. The wild weekend here in the Pac-12 continues. But we all know that Utah is not going to go down easily in this third set without a fight.
Yeah, Utah, they are fighters. They've been in many battles already. And speaking of body language, they haven't wavered either. They've just been consistent. You see the focus, not a lot of ups and downs, but they're out there to do a job, and they know what they have to do to get the victory.
Adora and I back in for the Utes, serving for Utah that time. Carly Truman, what a termination there.
So athletic, making it look easy. And gosh, I wish I would have had that quick of an arm swing when I played.
I'd say things worked out okay for you, Dane. NCAA champion, Olympic gold medalist. I'd say the swing you had was manageable, was passable.
Passable, but imagine what you could do with that swing. I mean, it's like a rocket of an arm.
So
and right
fast.
there, that ball doesn't clear the net. Unfortunately, Hughes wasn't able to get an approach, and I think Tomasevic is going to call a timeout and talk this one over.
And understandably so, because as you mentioned, Utah does have a more experienced team as the number 13 team in the country. they battled through a lot of adversity already this season and come out on top. So they know how to battle through, when they're not playing that well, when they're maybe siding out less than they would like to.
They've been battle tested, and despite those 5-set losses, they might be undefeated. They haven't been blown out or had an off night where they just didn't come to play the whole time. They're fighters, and that really goes back to the culture that Beth Lanier institutes to her team, and they know what it's about. It's about being tenacious. It's about being patient and really pushing forward as much as you can.
Yeah, Beth Lanier, as we've mentioned, in her 28th season as head coach of the Utah Utes, and we actually mentioned it a little while ago when we were talking about the new coaches like Sonia here in the Pac-12 Conference. There's a new coach at Stanford because a number of great coaches retired just last season.
Yeah, look at Dave Soji. 42 seasons, 5 national titles. John Dunning up at Stanford, 5 titles himself, and then Brian Gimolaro at Long Beach State, 3 titles of his own. I just did the Hawaii versus Long Beach State match, and that's the first time in decades that you had new coaches out there. So it's something special. Turnover is inevitable.
Yep, it's going to happen. It happened at Stanford after John Dunning dropped the mic. Kevin Hamley took over there. Sonia Tomasevic taking over here. Matt McShane taking over for the retired Rich Feller at Cal. Matt Ulmer, previously an assistant at Oregon, now the head coach of the Oregon Ducks. Well, we are having a great afternoon here in Tempe. Arizona State took set 1. Utah came back, took set 2. We are all square at 22 here in set number 3. Tough set, but Truman deals with it. And Beatty, the freshman, just not able to get it over.
And she's played so well. Rarely do you see her make an error. Very composed, has been playing great defensively with her block and offensively with her hitting.
Here's Bree Dormant.
That's a tough pass to start the offense, and Greer is going to make up for it. That's a perfect example of having a strong left side player. It gives you the luxury of maybe not having a perfect pass, but still being able to side out.
Hughes leading the way, 16 kills, hitting .333 on the afternoon. She'll check out Courtney LaFell in to serve for the Sun Devils. And not much you can do about that one. Berkeley Oblad loves that slide, and she's able to put it down for the point.
Oblad at 6'4" is also very long limbed. She's got a high reach and she's very athletic. So you put all those things together and she's a force to be reckoned with.
So set point for the Utah Utes. Yaramich takes the conservative approach that time. Danny Barton with a big swing. Back to Yaramich. And able to go off the Utah block. We are tied at 24.
Yaramich, a huge play for Arizona State right there. Almost a must-win point for Arizona State. And you see, her face said it all. She got away with one. Tool in the block, out of bounds.
All smiles there. Her 8th kill of the afternoon. Looking for the freshman lefty. Back to Yaramich. And hits another point for Ivana Yaramich. And ASU setting up set points for the Sun Devils.
Right now, the setter Peterson knows that Yaramich is and has the hot hand, and she's going to continue to feed her. And why not? Check that heat meter.
9 kills now for Yaramich. Beth Lanier talking things over with our down referee, Larry Schwartz. And here's sophomore Callie Jones serving for the set. Free ball for the Utes. What do they do with it? Arizona State saying that one was not a lift because it was the first contact. That was...
Yeah, I don't know where the lift took place. I think she motioned like they scooped the ball up, but it looked like it came hard off the hand. It wasn't like an open hand. It kind of came right off the bone here. That does not look like a lift by Yermich at all, and that's why she's trying to plead her case. That was huge.
Quick whistle there. Yermich comes back. What a big swing from Ivana Yermich.
And that's what can happen. Sometimes you get a call, you don't think it was the right call, it starts to fire you up, it gives you this real jolt of energy, and then you come out and raise your game to a whole nother level.
So set points number 2 for ASU. And Adora Anai is back.
Yeah, I just don't know how you could ever take her out of the match. She is almost unstoppable at times.
Well, we didn't see that, though, in the first set, so maybe just need a little time to think about it. Here's O'Caro this time, looking deep back corner, sends it long.
Well, but like you said, Beth Lanier took her out, and she had a lot of time to think about it. You know, not playing that well, and now she comes in with a little more spark.
Sure had quite a bit of spark on that last termination.
Yeah, that was, probably the most impressive hit that we've seen this afternoon. No question about that.
Well, you got to see just in that one swing why she was and is the reigning ABCA and ESPNW Player of the Week. She set the new Utah all-time career kills mark record with their win over Washington last week, and then continued her incredible play in their win over Wazoo in Pullman.
Yeah, and she came in today 1,649 kills, and she's only going to expand that lead. And I think we've gotten word that there's a challenge right now on a touch call.
They're seeing if O'Caro's big swing was touched. Again, as we were talking about earlier, it is tough to see from this angle. Need the quadruple X mode to see if we can tell if the ball changes directions.
Yeah, well, right here, I don't believe there's a touch. You would see that finger, that left pinky finger, would be moving from Louis Falamana, and we didn't see that. And so I don't think a touch is going to be called, and I think it will be ruled Utah's ball.
Let's take a look at a real-time replay, see if we can tell at all if it changes directions here. That's tough.
Yeah, it's really hard to see. I'm going to say no touch, and I don't think that, because the initial call was no touch, and so they need conclusive evidence to overturn that, and I don't think you're going to get that from either of the replays that we saw. They may have a different angle that they're looking at, but I think this is going to stay Utah's ball.
And it does. The call stands as we see Beth Lanier get the final approval from Larry Schwartz. But hey, a good challenge there from Sani Tomasevic.
Yeah.
It's a game-changing point, so might as well raise that green card and see if you can get it to turn your way. But again, as you said, Dane, conclusive evidence is what it has to be to overturn. So it's set point number 2 for Berkeley Oblad and the Utes. They'll play O'Caro. She knows what to do with that one.
I can't believe that ball actually went down. I was saying, oh, she's going to tip it and they're going to eat this up. But all of the Utes on their heels right there, expecting O'Caro to blast it. And that's the perfect time to switch it up. Very smart play by O'Caro.
Just a really smart player. Number 27, the freshman outside Greer Hughes, is checked back in for the Devils.
Ooh, that pass.
And how about the Arizona State block? Carmen Onthue smiling and nodding, saying, yeah, I've got this up front.
Feeling good right there. Getting up and over. One of the most impressive blocks we've seen from Arizona State this afternoon, and it couldn't come at a better time.
So here's set point number 3 for ASU. Back and forth we go. Anai, after being blocked, decides to use the touch shot that time.
You got to swing on that opportunity.
Maybe freshman inexperience there, and Anai able to get it to go down.
All you can hope for is a swing at set point to challenge that other side and make them make a play. You make a tip, they can slide in and make the easy play. And I always like the aggressive play in a situation like that.
Well, that's what Sonny Tomasevic said she's still looking for. That player who wants it at the end of the set. Getting closer and closer each match, but still a young team here at ASU. There's a swing by Hughes that time, dug up by Dorman. And Adora Anai is not going to miss, setting up another set point for the Utes.
Solid team play right there. Dorman, very composed, passes the ball perfectly, and then Anai ripping that right in the deep seam.
So Bailey Choi at the service line, but the Utes looking to take a 2-1 lead here in Tempe. Quick set to Hughes. And the Utah block sails out of bounds, so here we are tied now at 29.
You see what I mean? When you're aggressive, good things happen. That ball blocked, but out of bounds.
And Megan Beatty checks into the front row for Arizona State. Oh, what a nice finish by Tani Lua-Falamana.
Lua-Falamana, a very smart shot right there. Got up early, gave her setter a target in that middle position, and then went to the nice open deep corner.
Sets up set point number 4 now for Dora Nye and the Utes. Fantastic third set today here in Tempe. Here, Hughes blocked, and Utah has a 2-1 lead.
Don't fault Hughes for challenging the block right there, but this Utah block is the real deal. They are stopping so many balls from going over the net, and then a lot of those are ending up on the floor. An impressive blocking exhibition by the Utes.
And that was all freshman Kenzie Kerber there, number 4, giving Utah a 2-1 lead.
Every Friday night, Mike Yan, Curtis Conway, and Eric Allen take you inside the huddle, including live updates straight from campus.
It's going to be a challenge for our guys, but I think our guys will be up for it.
To deliver you the inside scoop on a full weekend of gridiron action.
And there it is, the record!
Josh Rosen throws.
Caught in the end zone! Touchdown!
On Inside Pac-12 Football. Friday nights, only on Pac-12 Network.
My name's Cody Brazil. I go to Arizona State University, and I run cross country and track and field. Our cross country team has one of the highest GPAs in the school. We just kind of push each other in the classrooms. I know a lot of times when we're getting a breakout at the very end of a practice session, a lot of times what the team captain or someone will say is, go home, do your homework, because when your homework's done, you're not stressing staying up late, and when you're not stressed and staying up late, you're getting good rest, which is going to translate over to running well. Having goals is really important as a student athlete. On the track, a goal for me would be to break 4 minutes in the mile, and then academically, my goal is just to stay as close to 4.0 as I can. My name is Cody Brazil. I go to Arizona State University, and I run cross country and track and field. Go Devils!
Saturday, it's a Pac-12 football doubleheader. First at 1, Troy Dye and the Ducks are looking for a conference win. Can they knock Chosen Rosen and the Bruins off their game? Oregon and UCLA meet at the Rose Bowl. Then at 5, Rich Rod's Cats clash with the Golden Bears in Berkeley.
Khalil Tate, Pac-12 Player of the Week.
Pac-12 football, presented by Valvoline. Coverage kicks off at noon with the pregame show, only on Pac-12 Network.
This Pac-12 women's volleyball game is presented by Tachikara. We've got the ball. You bring the game. What a great time we are having here in Wells Fargo Arena. The Devils took the first set. Utah battled back in the second. Look how many points we needed in that third set. finally, Utah able to take it 31-29. As Dane Blanton and Kate Scott with you here in Tempe as we take a look at the match stats so far. Pretty even, Dane, all the way across the board.
Well, I mean, if you look at Utah, kind of dominating. Percentage 306-176. Aces 5-1, blocks 15-5. So you ask yourself, how is Arizona State staying in it? Well, they're playing smart volleyball. They're keeping the ball in, second and third contacts, and that player right there, Greer Hughes, the outside hitter, a career high 17 kills already. Her previous high 14. She's got a couple of digs to go along with it, but she's had a lot of opportunity, and she may be emerging as one of those leaders that Tomasevic is looking for. So young, just a freshman, 5'11", so athletic, and you can tell by the frustration. She knew she had some opportunities, and I think she's going to, put both hands on the steering wheel and might become the leader of this team.
Well, Sonny Tomasevic told us that Hallie Harker, the undisputed defensive leader. She's been the libero here in Tempe all 4 years in the libero jersey again today, but she's been looking for that offensive leader. She has Aluma Okaro, who's a fantastic offensive player, but as we all know, it takes a little bit more than that. It's great to have somebody who can put up the numbers, but need passion, need somebody to lead the way, and so far today, Greer Hughes has been doing that for ASU.
Absolutely, and you're right. You can lead by example, and you can be a leader in that regard, but if you can also be an emotional leader, a leader that has composure, has patience, and really shows the youngsters the way. But right now, as we said, Arizona State in a rebuilding type of a situation, so Tomasevic looking for a sophomore or a freshman that is going to start to fulfill that role. Like you said, Hallie Harker is just solid throughout, and to have a player like that in the backcourt is one thing, but looking toward the future, maybe Hughes is that person.
10 newbies on this Arizona State indoor squad here in 2017, so it's going to take a couple of years to get the ship riding for the Sun Devils, but when we were talking to Beth Lanier, she said that she thinks that Arizona State made a fantastic hire with Sonny Tomasevic, and that Sonny's hired a great staff with Carlos Moreno and former ASU star Macy Gardner. Just really excited about the future of ASU volleyball, even as somebody who's going to have to face them a couple of times a year here in the Pac-12 Conference, but that's always great to hear. Carly Truman blocked by Okaro.
Okaro up and over the net. One-on-one. Look at that left-hand press over. It's so important that you leave no space between your blocking hands and the net so the ball can't squeak through, and Okaro showing great technique there.
Okaro with a double-double on Friday night. 18 kills, 10 digs. Also had 3 big blocks then. And showing why she is one of the top hitters here in the Pac-12 Conference. Knows when to go with a big swing and knows when to just do a little touch.
She's done a good job all afternoon on knowing when to switch things up. In NCAA women's volleyball, you can't just be one-dimensional. You can't just have the power all the time because teams will hone in on it. You have to have the finesse shot and know when to break it out.
Utah able to read the finesse shot that time, and Peterson able to dig up an eye. And there is Tani Luifalamana.
Luifalamana just has that focus and that determination in her eye. She blocks that ball, and she turns, and she doesn't go crazy. She expects to block that ball every single time.
How about that?
I like that demeanor.
The calm, cool stride back to the huddle. And Utah with a little bit of help that time as Dorman's serve bounces off of Viermich. So Utah starting this set on a 4-0 run. Utah, as they have every set so far, just calmly, coolly battling their way back in. Okaro that time out of the middle, off hands for the points.
And you mentioned it earlier. I was talking to Beth Lanier before, and I was saying this is kind of two teams going in different directions at the moment, but she mentioned what you had said, Kate, that she loves the hire and the coaching staff. And let's talk a little bit about the coaching staff of Arizona State.
Yeah.
I mean, is that an all-star coaching staff or what? I mean, a 2005 national champion in Tomasevich and player of the year. And then Moreno, he won a national championship and was the player of the year nationally in 2004. And then you got Macy Gardner, maybe the most impressive player ever to wear an ASU uniform.
And boy, oh boy, did Macy Gardner have that 2015 squad off to a start. 15-0. I was looking back this morning because I was on the schedule to call the match after Macy unfortunately tore the ACL. But they were number 5 in the country was ASU just 2 years ago. 15-0 to start the season. And they were at number 6 Washington. It was a huge match. And that's when Macy tears the ACL. And since then, things kind of spiraled down the rest of that 2015 season. They were without their leader. And then last year, the coaching changed. Jason Watson going away. And now Sonia's settling in this season and bringing Macy back. And I love what she said, because we asked her the other day, how did you decide to hire somebody so young with very little coaching experience? How did that process come about? She said that she hired Carlos, who she's known for a long time, as you mentioned. Setter at BYU, absolutely incredible. And they got Macy Gardner on FaceTime, and she thought it was just kind of a nice informational interview of sorts. Didn't think that there was any chance she was in the running for the job here. And they said, what do you think about coming back to ASU? And what did Sonia say to us?
Well, I think what stood out for me most is how she said Macy was so emotional and surprised, and she thought that Macy was giving her a complimentary call to let her down and not be in that position. But that was really something, it was touching.
Just to hear that Macy teared up when she was offered the job and said, I've got unfinished business at ASU.
Right.
I would love to come back because of the start of the 2015 season that they had. A lot of us covered in Pac-12 volleyball thought there was a chance that ASU was going to win the conference that year and go very deep into the NCAA tournament, as they are challenging right now to see if there was a touch.
Yeah, and I think there is a touch. Watch the right fingers right there. Watch the fingers. They get bent backwards with my supervision.
Eagle eye over there on Dane Blanton.
I'm thinking they're going to call a touch here.
I think they will. But just to kind of finish up that story we were telling. So just a great coaching staff that they've got here at Arizona State.
All-star.
And it's just gonna take them a little while to turn things around. But
all-star resumes, and now it's about translating that player experience to a coaching experience, which is not easy to do. Not easy to do just because you have the resume as a player.
Yes.
It can still be challenging, but I think Arizona State's in good hands.
I mean, when we were talking to Sonia, she just sounded like a coach when we were talking the other day. And the fact that Macy said, in addition to, again, being an incredible player, she's an amazing recruiter, that the parents have come up to Sonia and said, our daughter's connected with Macy. We love the fact that she's on your staff. We think she's going to be a great coach, head coach in the future. And so well done on that hire, as Larry Schwartz and Sonia Tomasevich talk things over. But as you saw, Sonia has quite the resume as well. Outside hitter who ended her career as Washington's all-time leader in points, kills, and aces, one of just 3 players in Husky history to record 1,000 kills and 1,000 digs in her career. And that was something that Macy Gardner did here at Arizona State as well. So a stacked coaching staff, and now they're bringing in their players to Tempe. And you see that the call will stand.
So
Interesting. Interesting.
No touch. Did you think that you saw a touch?
I thought I saw a touch as well, because I was looking to see if maybe the pinky or the ring finger moved just a little bit. But as we mentioned already, it's tough when you don't have the triple, quadruple X mode to see the conclusive evidence. And Utah able to come out of that long time out of sorts with the points. The freshman Shannon Scully there with the ace. All smiles. Huntington Beach native walking back to the service line. And O'Carroll able to tool the block for the point.
O'Caro just gets up so quick. She's able to really survey the defense and see where the block is, see where the defenders are, and then make that last-minute decision.
And O'Caro playing a new position of sorts here in 2017. She was a middle for a long time for ASU. And Tomasevic said that it was almost kind of like as Oblad goes with a cut shot on the slide for the points. It was almost like O'Connell was a new player for Tomasevic as well, because moving to that opposite can be a bit of a change for a hitter going from left side to right side.
Yeah, and challenging if you play middle, which is somewhat restrictive. You know, you have to be quite the athlete to play outside or opposite, but she's a natural and can be really plugged into any position on the court, and it's such a valuable asset for their team. I think anytime a player has to learn a new position, it really benefits their overall game, because a lot of these players coming out of club volleyball as youngsters sometimes get like pigeonholed into, hey, you're the tall player, so you're going to play in the middle. Right. Oh, you're the shorter player, you're going to play defense. And you don't get exposed to some of the other areas of the game. So I think it's very important. And a lot of these Division I coaches in any conference are looking for all-around players that have ball control, a high volleyball IQ, and can make instinctive plays. That's the type of player you want on the court at all times.
Yeah, you've heard that too, huh? Pretty much in every coach's call or coach's meeting I've had this season, they've been really focusing on the fact that players coming out of high school, they play for great clubs, but they're getting more and more focused and can't be the 6 rotation players that all of these coaches are wanting. They're saying that fewer and fewer of the student athletes come in able to do everything, serve and pass, and they're really hoping that that changes again, because we're seeing more and more players go all the way around here in college now.
Yeah, I think it's just too valuable an asset, athleticism, to put a one-dimensional player on the court, because at times they can become a liability if they're put in a position that they're not accustomed to doing. You got to be able to do everything. You know, when you're a volleyball player, you got to be able to pass, set, hit, you got to block. You just never know when your number is going to be called in a certain part of the game. And an eye with a rip right down the line. And Yarmik just had to basically put her helmet on here.
Yeah, nothing you could do about that one.
Her face, wow.
Calling her own number that time was number 14. Utah with a 10-9 lead here in set number 4. 2-1 lead over the Arizona State Sun Devils, but the Devils are going to fight and scratch and claw. Every set has been close, and set number 4, no difference.
Yeah, no matter what happens here, I believe ASU has made some serious gains, and they've really followed a game plan, and they've been in every single set. I mean, the first 3 sets, 2 of the 3 went to overtime.
3 different Sun Devil players now with double-digit kills.
Wow.
Nice little soccer play there in the back row for ASU. But it sails out of bounds.
Yarmich put her foot out.
Why not?
And that ball came up. I've seen that a few times. You can use any part of your body, and that ball is live.
I'm sure they play quite a bit of footy in Serbia, right? Nice dig that time by Adora Anai. And this time by Bree Dorman. A great defense from Utah, and Carly Truman with a finishing shot.
What a scrappy play right there by Utah. Nobody wants to let that ball hit the ground. Truman laying it out, keeping it in play. That's what it's about, giving yourself more and more opportunities, and then a smart little roll shot to the back. You see, she didn't really go for an aggressive winner. She just placed it, and it ended up being a winner.
Dora Anai's serve sails just a few inches long. So it's Nicole Peterson now, the sophomore out of Portland, Oregon. 10 assists, 4 digs, coming on off the bench in Friday's match against Colorado. And that time her serve is long. So back and forth we go, which is what it's been like all afternoon.
I think Peterson has really set a really solid match. And I like her control, the way she's really handled the team and going to the hot hand and knowing that's half the battle, knowing who has the hot hand and who's ready to go in what positions. And she's done a great job quarterbacking this team all afternoon.
Yeah, Peterson looks great at the end of Friday's loss to Colorado, and that's why Sonia Tomasevic said, I'm going to start her today. And she's looked great. The 2015 Max Preps and Gatorade Oregon Player of the Year, two-time MVP of the state championship up in Oregon. So the Devils very happy that Peterson came down here to Tempe. And nothing she could do about that one. Tried to get out of the way, but just too fast.
Getting your hand caught in the cookie jar. She tried to pull back at the very last second. It was too late, a little indecision. And whenever it's close, I always say you got to play those close ones because then you can control your own destiny.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right in the heat of the moment, that can happen, though.
A good effort that time by Bree Dorman as she came sliding in out of the back row, but Libero just not able to get it. So Caro with another kill. Now 12 kills on the afternoon on 27 swings for O'Caro. She's hitting .296. As a team in this set ASU hitting .350, and that is a swing that the freshman Danny Barton would like to have back.
Yeah, and that pass was right on top of the net. I'm surprised Arizona State didn't crush that ball. They just let it kind of carry them off the net. You got to be aggressive and take charge. Fortunately, they ended up with a point anyway.
That time, a nice swing goes into the net. And you can sense a little bit of frustration from Adora and I. Not playing how she tends to, but her team does have a 2-1 lead. The 4-set continues when we come back.
Friday, basketball season is around the corner. Arizona's kicking things off with the Arizona Red-Blue game. Friday at 7 on Pac-12 Network. Friday, November 10th. Basketball is back. Get ready for hoop season with Full Court Friday. We've got 10 season openers across all networks. Full Court Friday, November 10th on Pac-12 Networks.
Champions are created with team chemistry.
Through the right side, there he goes!
That imperfect mixture of unique talent,
determination, and risk-taking.
It's an experiment worth doing.
Combining advanced moves in the lab and in the stadium.
Excellence, innovation, and going for it every time.
We call it Pac-12 team chemistry.
And it makes us who we are.
You're watching Pac-12 Arizona.
Well, Sparky and company all smiles after their huge upset win on the football field last night, and their volleyball team sure putting up a fight here in Wells Fargo Arena. Took the first set from Adora Anai and number 13 Utah. Utah came back in set number 2, and then ASU, boy, did they push the Utes to the limit. 31-29, the set 3 score, which went to Utah. But Aluma O'Caro and Arizona State once again right in it with a 1-point lead, 15-14 ASU here in set number 4. Dane Blanton, Kate Scott with you here on the Pac-12 Network. It is Pac-12 Women's Volleyball presented by Tachi Kara. A lot of pancakes from Bree Dorman these last few points. Good run by Hallie Harker there. Quickly to Oblad in the middle. Great rally we've got this time, and we've got a double contact, so Arizona State will come away with the points.
Head referee Patsy Malta all over it again. That ball coming out with a lot of spin. It hit the hands not simultaneously, and that results in that double contact. We've seen it happen multiple times here this afternoon. Good call.
Oblad on the slide. Boy, that ball got to the floor quickly.
That backslide of Oblad being 6'4", just there's not a lot of time between the setter and her hands. If the block's not there, the ball's going to hit the ground before you know it.
Oblad third in the Pac-12 in hitting percentage, averaging .360 on the season. And there's the junior that we haven't seen too much from yet so far today, Peyton Grahovic. with the kill for Arizona State. So Sandy Tomasevic switching things up a little bit here in the second half of set number 4. Tough serve from O'Caro.
Oh, wow.
Harker.
Dig by Harker.
And another good effort there from LaFell, but just too much of an angle on Oblad's shot there. But yeah.
That first one, Oblad just ignited. And Harker just slides in there on her knees, gets that ball. It's one thing to dig that ball up in the air, but to keep it in play, that's a whole nother level.
They are going to miss Allie Harker, no doubt about it, as Grahovic puts it down.
Yeah, Hallie Harker is just that steadying force in the backcourt. Anytime a ball is within her vicinity, you just know it's going to get up and you're going to get another opportunity to take a swing.
Leads the Pac-12 in digs, does Harker. And if you look at the numbers, she's almost a full dig per set ahead of the second best defensive player in the Pac-12 conference. So Harker is a beaut. Well, Peyton Grahovic coming in and making a difference for these Devils.
Grahovic knew that Anai was going to try to rip that ball angle, and she pressed over at just the perfect time to get the stuff block. And wow, the way the Sun Devils are playing right now, we may be going 5.
We may be going to a 5th. Grahovic has come in, the Long Beach State transfer out of Orange, California. Haven't seen really any of her the first 3 sets, but making a big impact here towards the end of set number 4. Adora Anai dug up by Ermich, who's playing a great all-around match for ASU. Back to Anai. Blocked again? How about Arizona State?
How about Grahovic just shutting down Anai right now with that angle? She's saying, if you want the kill, don't come my way. You better go down the line. And Arizona State just will not go away.
20-16. A big 4-point lead right now over the 13th ranked team in the country here in set number 4 as Peyton Grahovic and the Sun Devils try to push one of the top teams in the country to a 5th set here in Tempe. 0-7 so far in Pac-12 play. Boy, oh boy, would this be a fantastic way to get there first. And Sandy Tomasevic's first Pac-12 win of the season. Well, Luma O'Caro has really turned things on these last couple of sets for ASU, and she's a big reason that they have that 4-point lead here in this 4th set.
Yeah, O'Caro, when you have a player like O'Caro, you have someone to go to when you're in trouble, when the pass isn't perfect, and not only has she been powering the ball, she's been finessing the ball at times, so she's really been picking her spots, and I always call that a high volleyball IQ, when you know what shot to execute at the perfect time.
12 kills for O'Caro, 18 for Greer Hughes. And sitting beside them, you see their setter, Nicole Peterson. She has now tied her career high, 51 assists on the afternoon. One more, and Peterson would set a new career high. And O'Caro, no doubt, would love that, as would the rest of these Devils. Already, no, I've been saying it a few times, but a massive upset on the football field last night. This would be just as massive if they were able to knock off the 13th ranked team in the country, Utah, here at Wells Fargo Arena. Adora Anai struggling so far tonight for Utah. The reigning AVCA Player of the Week and ESPNW Player of the Week. Tough set there. Anai makes the most of it. Quick set to Lua Falamana, who's able to put it down for the point.
It's going to be interesting to see how Utah responds right now, finding themselves in a little bit of a hole right here. I would imagine they thought they would come out here and take care of the 4th and be able to move on. Yeah. But like I said, the Sun Devils aren't going anywhere.
We follow him on at that time. Got a little too much of it. And ASU, as you mentioned, Dane, doesn't seem like that big of a space, but 4 points, and just 4 points away from taking this 4th set. So it is a comfortable lead right now for the Sun Devils.
Yeah, the way this match has been going, a 4-point lead is a big lead. It's been tight the entire time.
Callie Jones served tight that time, just able to roll over the net, but an eye comes back for Utah. She'll head back to the service line now.
Now, if you're Arizona State, you're thinking, tough server. Let's get out of this rotation as quickly as possible. You got Peterson in the front row. Therefore, they only have 2 front row attackers. They need to get out of this, and look at that. Utah lets them off the hook immediately. That's a huge opportunity for Arizona State. They could have been stuck in that rotation a while.
And the look on, I looked right over to an ice coach, Beth Lanier, who had that knowing look. No, that didn't want that to happen. Wanted to keep the Sun Devils in that rotation. Weren't able to do so, but Carly Truman able to come right back for the point.
Yeah, Lanier, she knows that you can run off 3 and 4 points in a rotation like that. Now Peterson for Arizona State is in the back row, and they're fully loaded with 3 attackers.
So let's see how they do. To Greer Hughes, who led the Sun Devils to that first set victory.
Smart play right there. Truman, instead of powering it, got blocked the first time, decided to use the block the second time. That's a smart play.
And now leads all hitters with 20 kills on the afternoon, does Carly Truman, hitting .417. Also has 3 blocks. She is just having a phenomenal afternoon for the Utes who've needed it, with Adora and I struggling. Only 10 kills, 7 errors for Adora and I. Berkeley Oblat also having a good match alongside Carly Truman with 10 kills. She's hitting .364.
Well, this is a perfect example, this match right here, that if you play smart volleyball and you play consistent, you're going to find yourself in the mix. Because if you look at the blocking, Utah 17-8 in the blocking category, and then service aces 7-1. So Utah dominating the serving, dominating the blocking, yet they find themselves just a few points away from going to a 5th set. So smart volleyball, patient volleyball being played by Arizona State, and they're able to hang with the number 13 team in the country, and they're very upset-minded.
My, oh my, what an afternoon we have had so far here in Tempe. Dane Blanton, Kate Scott with you. The Sun Devils 3 points away from pushing the number 13 team in the country to a 5th set. Sani Tomasevic in her first year as head coach here at Arizona State. Still looking for her first Pac-12 win. Talking with Beth Lanier, now in her 28th season as head coach at Utah, about her first win, and she says, I remember it like it was yesterday. Knocked off Fresno Pacific. I almost wet my pants. I was so excited. So she knows just how important this one would be for Sani Tomasevic and the Sun Devils as they try to turn this program around here in Tempe. But Utah is not going to go quietly. They were down in set number 3 towards the end, came back and won it, and there's Kenzie Kerber.
Dorman has a really nice float serve here. It kind of mesmerized Hughes into indecision, and that allowed for that last point. There's a jump float, a lot of movement on it. This time, a really good pass. And Dorman's everywhere.
Nye out of the back row. There's O'Carroll looking cross court, but sends it wide.
Couple of tough errors. Arizona State right now, a little inconsistent, uncharacteristic of them this afternoon for sure. Let's see if they can get back on track here.
Nice pancake by Bailey Choi. Devils go back to O'Carroll, who doesn't miss that time. ASU 2 points away from taking this 4th set.
That was a really big point for Arizona State because all the momentum was going the way of Utah after they had got the last 2 points. Now Arizona State again in control if they can just put up a couple points here.
Can they finish it out? That has been a struggle of theirs in this rebuilding season. Get to this point and then struggle closing the door. Berkeley Oblat and Utah come right back. We're even at 23.
It's the tipping the ball. It's not going to go down at this point of the match. A great team like Utah, they're waiting for that. They're sliding a defender right behind the block, so you better bring it if you're Arizona State right here.
Cameron Machado with the serve.
It's a good cut right there by Okaro.
And look who it is in the middle again. Carmen Onthue with the block.
Onthue really pressing into that angle. It's hard to block that angle ball. You have to time it perfectly, and your hands have to be in a really solid position to get the kill.
Setting up set points for Arizona State as they try to push Utah to a 5th set. Tight to the net that time. What effort by Hallie Harker. Utah will have a chance, though, here. Peterson with the dig. Yeremich. Oh, what an up by an eye. What a rally we've got here in Tempe. And there is Carly Truman in the Utah block.
Wow, what an incredible rally. That was the best rally that we've had all afternoon. And just unbelievable defense. And the last hit, just ripping it. And you can't fault that. Go for it. Take a swing. See what happens. Fortunately for Utah, that one went straight down.
And just like set number 3, ended 31-29 because each team had so many set points. ASU's first set point is taken away by Carly Truman and Berkeley Oblad, and now we are all square at 24 here in set number 4. Utah trying to close this out, head home on back-to-back road trips with a perfect 4-0 record, trying to improve to 7-1 in Pac-12 play. Beth Lanier's squad 15-3 so far on the season. The Sun Devils looking for their first Pac-12 win here in 2017. Okaro sets up set point number 2 for ASU.
All I can say is hit, and then hit some more. Because Okaro, when she takes a swing, her percentages go through the roof that ball is going to hit the floor.
14 kills now on 35 swings by Okaro. Oblad just able to get it over the net. Okaro with the dig that time.
Take a swing.
Nye takes a swing. Hallie Harker was there, but my, oh my, the power on a nice swing.
2 opportunities for the Sun Devils to have an offensive attack to close it out, but they do not come strong. A little off on their offense, and Utah makes them pay.
So tied at 25 now. Peterson, the back set, and Grahovic puts it down to set up set point number 3 for the Devils.
Grahovic, a primetime player. She knows when to step up and make the big play. That slide was executed perfectly. She nailed it right to the deep corner. The defense nowhere to be found.
And a new career high for her setter. Now 53 assists for sophomore Nicole Peterson. Here's Ivana Yeremich. And deny.
Wow, that was ugly right there. They were looking for a double contact. And I think you're going to see well, you're seeing a very upset Sun Devil coach, that's for sure. You can hear it from the fans here at Wells Fargo Arena. And somebody who knows a thing or two about being an outside hitter is the new head coach here at ASU, Sonny Tomasevich. All-time leader in points, kills, and aces at UW as we take another look. Here comes the play. That ball comes out. Oh, and then they didn't like the set, nor did they like the tip. Looked like it was held too long. First of all, this set could have been a double contact call, and then that could have been a throw, that tip right there, but no call made. That's a judgment call. Nothing you can challenge there.
So no replay, and we are all square 26 here in the 4th set. Utah with a 2-1 lead. out of the back row. Aluma Okaro just wide.
She missed it right there. A lot of court to deal with, and she just pulls it a little far left.
So close, though.
And again, Tomasevic is not happy with what she just saw. I'm not sure what the dispute is right now.
I have a feeling they might still be talking about that call from a couple of points ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they thought there was maybe a touch on that last one. It just looked like it was clearly hit out of bounds, but let's take another look. Here comes the tip. Okara gets hit in the middle. Looks like no one's there. That ball looked clearly hit out. So.
I think there's a chance, as a coach sometimes, when there's a timeout and you have a chance to maybe just remind the official, the referee, that was a big game changer because that was set point for Arizona State. So if an eye would have been called for the lift,
it's a tough call to make.
We would have been going to a fifth set. So understand the frustration from Tomasevic. But what fight, what effort from her Sun Devils today.
She is not pleased. I wouldn't want that stare coming my way. I'm just telling you that.
Well, she said before the match, I've got an 8-pound baby inside of me. I'm ready to pop this baby out. I'm ready to win my first Pac-12 match. Let's go. The competitor in her is coming out. Understandably so. That's why everyone is so excited that she's back here in the Pac-12 conference now as a head coach. But here we go. Match point number 1 for the Utah Utes, who battled back here in set number 4. And there it is. Utah able to escape after a scrappy Sun Devil team fought and scratched and clawed its way trying to push the Utes to a 5th set. But in the end, the number 13 team in the country able to emerge victorious as they sweep their mountain road trip. Beth Lanier's Utes now 16-3 on the season.
I love what I saw. Arizona State lost this one, but they learned so much. I think they made a ton of progress. 3 out of the 4 sets we had here went into overtime. And Utah, they battled again. And look at where they're at. Now they move to 7-1 in the Pac-12. They're the real deal. Number 13 ranked, number 9 in RPI, and they're only going upward. A physical team. And I love the battle. I thought that was one of the cleanest matches I've seen this year. And really tenacious on both sides. These two teams,